Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry.
Okay.
The visuals were like being set up and I forgot that we were live while I was setting them up. There's no staging area for that. Well, good morning, afternoon, good noon, Brenda.
Thank you.
It's
Yes.
been one of those crazy Mondays, right?
Mhm.
Well, I'm excited that we're actually going a little bit later getting started because we were on the phone with StepUp about the time
Yeah.
we should have been setting up, and I had to jump off. And Crystal stayed on the phone with them to get answers to some of the really important
Mm-hmm.
questions that people are asking. So we will be able to give you firsthand information in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, information I don't even have yet as questions are pouring in. I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I walk upstairs and I hear the dulcet tones of my wife on the phone with someone, and I'm like, "Is that Step Up?" She was like, "Yes, leave me alone." I'm like, "It is almost noon," so here we
Well,
are.
I don't know if our viewers understand who the two of you are,
Okay,
but
why don't you introduce?
let me introduce you. Jason came to us and said he was very interested in keeping HEF active and alive, but after researching the web, he found very little presence there. And since his expertise is in marketing, he said, I think you need a new branding, a new website, and I can do that for you. So we jumped on board with him. And then we got a bonus because we got Crystal, who is amazing. She's not only a writer and has published 3 of her own books that are on Amazon, but she is excellent in organization and bulleting things so they will be very easy for parents to understand and get their questions. And then she has been setting up questions on the forum for parents. Do I have the right word for them?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Um, to answer about the PEP program. So we have gotten a team, the Crawford team, that hopefully, if we can raise enough money, will be hired to replace the work that I've been doing over the last 35 years. And there's a little bit of time that we need to work together to introduce them to the people that I work with and give them the credibility to answer those questions and walk them through the upcoming session. So I am excited to have the Crawfords join us today.
Well, thank you for that. Let's get some clapping going on there. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. Um, we have in starting this, we had like 10 when we got on. We have about 28 people now. So whenever you feel ready to dive in to some of the new questions, I know Crystal, you've got a lot of them. I'm taking notes on what comes up through the message feed. So if you're watching and you have any questions about PEP, or it doesn't all have to be about PEP. I know that's been the hot thing lately, but some people are new to home education and they just want to know what their rights are or what the legislation says about this, or someone told them that and is it true? And they have lots of other kinds of questions. I get it, PEP is the most important topic on everybody's mind right now, but there are a lot of people who started homeschooling in the last 2 years after the COVID pandemic kind of came through, and it's forced a lot of people to kind of rethink what they want to do, and they don't know what this whole thing about homeschooling is or what their rights are. And so any of the questions that you have, pop them down in there. I'm going to watch those, but I won't delay any further. I know people have been waiting a while for this information. Crystal, you want to start us off with some good questions?
Sure. I'm not sure. I got on the call with StepUp after Brenda, so she may have some information
Oh,
that I wasn't on the call for, but I can. Brenda, how do you want to do this? Do you want to go first or you want me to go?
Well, I don't, you actually asked all the questions and got the answers. So we were on at the same time. But I do want people to understand, especially about the PEP program, that it's a work in progress. They don't
Yes.
have all of the answers. DOE doesn't have all of the answers. We're trying to give you the most up-to-date information that we can glean. And we got on the call at 11:30 to ask some of these questions, but they still don't have answers. So if you've been awarded a PEP and you know that for a fact, and Crystal can tell you how you're going to know that you actually got a PEP. The awarded word is not the right word.
Right.
And so she can explain that. But they're working as hard as they can to get all of this finalized. And so be patient. If you are interested in the PEP, some of it will have to be answered later. And let me just say one other thing before Crystal gets started. There is a lot of misinformation out there in the community. People are fearful. Other people are being judgmental if somebody takes the PEP. Let me set the record straight. Traditional home education, as people have known it since 1985, has not changed. This is a brand new program. You can still do traditional home education. You do not have to take state money. There will be no further regulation or oversight on home education program students other than what's currently in the law. The PEP has some criteria set up for the purpose of seeing if the program itself is successful. And that will be based on a composite of nationally normed reference test scores, not your individual student's test score. And it will be made public in 5 years. So my educated guess is there will be no change to this program for 5 years. And we need to have a lobbyist, i.e. someone at the Capitol, keeping up with it on a day-to-day basis to make sure that nothing is inserted in the PEP program that will further limit parents' choices and restricts the program or becomes intrusive more than it currently is, which is really very free and open, and all you have to turn in is a test score. Nobody's going to be overseeing it or anything. So I hope that alleviates some of your fear.
Is it safe to say that the PEP, or personalized education program, is intended to be as close to home education as possible?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not meant to be public school programming at home, scholarshiped and regulated like public school in that way. It's meant to be home education, scholarshiped. Is that a fair way to state it?
Yes. I tell them to use the term instead of home education for the confusion. It's parent directed education, which is the way home education is defined.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. And thank you for addressing that. I have seen a lot of, just going to that conference that we were at, I heard some of the parents asking questions that they had heard in some of their Facebook groups or homeschool groups, and I was shocked at some of the advice they were giving each other and some of the concerns that they had out of the fear that people piped up. It's very important to call things the way that they're stated in legislation. Use the language that attaches to them, because we get a lot of confusion, and then with confusion people get afraid because they don't understand, and we want to clear up as much of that as possible and lay people's minds at ease with the way that it's intended to be set up. So without further ado, maybe some further insights into belay some of that confusion with some answers to questions. Crystal, you've been fielding a bunch of them from the site. Why don't you start us off? I've got at least 3 that have come in, a 4th one now. So go ahead and start us off.
Okay, I'll cover the ones. Yeah, I'll cover the ones I have, and then maybe we can hit some of the ones in the comments if I have answers for those and they're not already covered.
Speed drill.
Okay, so the first thing that I know parents have been worried about is a lot of parents are finding that their status inside StepUp's portal has suddenly switched from FTC PEP, which I'll explain in a second, to declined. FTC PEP is how you know that you were awarded PEP inside StepUp's program. So there was a lot of confusion with the initial emails that went out. They used the term awarded when really it was more like there was still a second step you had to do to tell them you wanted PEP, and then there's a process for that. But the first week of August, they started actually sending out emails specifically saying you have been awarded personalized education program. And then in that email, it told you that you could check inside the portal and you should see your status under where it says you've been awarded a scholarship. You should have seen the status switch from FESEO to FTC PEP inside StepUp. If that switched, then that's confirmation that you have officially been awarded PEP by StepUp. What happened over the weekend is a lot of those people who were seeing FTC PEP suddenly saw their status switch to declined instead of awarded. But on the call today with StepUp, they confirmed that that is just a system glitch, and they are working on it. They were moving people from old portals into new portals and moving people from FESEO in their system over to PEP where they're supposed to be. And so in the in-between, some of the statuses shifted to declined. But that does not mean that you have lost your PEP award. So if that applies to you, don't panic. Just give it a few days. StepUp says that they are also working on a communication to send out to explain to parents what's happening. But if you had that FTC PEP status inside StepUp and you were confirmed as having been awarded, then there's no reason to panic. It should even itself out whenever they fix this glitch. If you were still FESEO, then they may not have gotten to your application yet. They are still also processing people. So it's kind of just a hang tight and give them a little bit of time to work out these glitches for right now.
Yeah, some of the stuff is just system oriented where, like whenever you get an item refunded or something like that, in order to purchase or swap from one item to another in a store, the system has to fully refund one item and then cash out the other one. Yeah. Some of this stuff has to do with the way the systems are built and programmed. So just kind of be patient.
Yeah, and as Brenda said, that PEP is brand new. It's a work in progress. They're working out these glitches. They also recently launched their new Emma platform, and they're shifting people over to that. So it's a lot of back-end technological stuff that's happening, technical stuff. So yeah, just don't panic if that applies to you. Did you have something to add, Brenda?
No, just to make sure that if they have gotten a notification that they have been awarded a PEP, and it needs to be specific PEP, then they are already approved through the system, through everybody that has looked at their application. You are approved. And if you've gotten declined, you have not been declined. Excuse me, if you've gotten declined, they say that doesn't mean you've been denied. So It's just a glitch. Hang tight.
Yes. It's because, like I said, they're in their system, they were marking that people had declined FESEO to move them over to the PEP. So it was just the way it's coded in their system as they're trying to transfer people into the right categories. That's what's happening. Related to that, I know people have been wondering, is there a deadline that you have to have submitted your letter of termination to the county, or you'll be denied PEP through StepUp? I asked that question on the call today, and she said that the official date they've published is August 31st, that if you have been awarded PEP, they are doing sort of their cross checks and verifications to make sure that you do in fact meet the qualifications. One of those qualifications is that you cannot be registered with the county for home education. So you do need to submit that letter of termination by August 31st, and you also need to have completed your student learning plan by then. However, she said if there are parents who are unsure for whatever reason, maybe they're waiting to figure out things with Bright Futures or something like that. If you're unsure, she said that you can always apply later. You do not have to accept it right now. There are currently still spots open for the scholarship, but she did want to give the caveat that if you wait too long, your award amount would be prorated. So you may not receive the full amount for the year. And then there also is the risk that if they do start filling up with the slots, that you may,
there aren't any left.
Yeah, that there might not be any left. But you do not necessarily have to either accept it now or never take it. That's what she was telling me.
So would that be the answer to this question that just came in? It says, when are applications closed? You said the official date is August 31st. However, you can apply after.
Yeah, my understanding is applications don't close. Like, you can apply at any point. But there are these factors at play. Like, if you apply too late in the year, they prorate it. You don't get the full amount if it's beyond a certain date. Or, if the slots fill up, then there might not be scholarships still available for this year. So that's what they were saying.
Daleen says that my two are currently receiving FESEO for public school. Today was their first day. Can I apply and get it mid-year? So I think the answer to that is potentially yes, based off what you just said.
According to what they told me today, the answer is yes, but it would most likely be prorated, probably to like half the amount if she's going halfway through the year.
They would still have to apply.
And it would depend on if there were still available scholarships at that point. Yes.
Let me interject here. The scholarship payments are made 4 times a year, so that if you don't apply for the first payment before the first payment, you're going to miss that one. So you could apply in between that and the second payment, and you would be prorated for the last 3. I think that's how it's going to work.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's probably, that's what she was saying, is the same thing. And then that kind of rolls into a question I've been getting about the quarterly funds and how they're dispersed and how that's going to work. Basically on the call today.
Before you move into that, can I ask a question that applies to the previous thing? She says, we've been awarded FESEO, however, we haven't accepted for PEP yet. Do I need to unenroll now, or should I wait to unenroll until we get the accepted email?
If they haven't been officially awarded PEP, meaning they haven't received that last email that says that, and they're, then I would wait. I don't know if Brenda has a different advice on that, but.
Wait on what? I'm not clear what they need to wait on.
For PEP to be accepted, to get the email of acceptance.
Wait on unenrolling their students from public school, was it?
They didn't clarify if it was public school or sending a letter of termination.
Do not terminate your program in a private school, public school, or home education program until you've received the email from StepUp saying your student is approved for a PEP.
Yes.
Personalized Education Scholarship. And Crystal, can you tell us what that looks like? Is that an email, a hard letter?
Yes.
How does that come?
It's an email. Let me actually search mine. Hold on. Because I had one. Hold on. Yes. So I received this email August 2nd. The subject line literally says, your student's PEP scholarship award confirmation. That is the subject line of the email. And then the email actually says, congratulations, this email serves as confirmation that your request to use your student's Florida Tax Credit Scholarship for the Personalized Education Program has been approved for the 2023-24 school year. And then there are some instructions about how to log into your account to confirm that your scholarship status has changed over to FTC PEP. And then also some instructions about submitting your student learning plan. So it is a very specific email. It's not that original generic awarded one. It specifically says you have been confirmed for PEP.
So if you have not received that email from StepUp or AAA, a similar email, do not terminate your home education program or withdraw from the other 2 schools, because you will be your child will not be enrolled for compulsory attendance, and you don't want that gap in there.
Yes. Yeah. And normally I would say, check inside the system to make sure you have that FTC PEP, but right now, because of the glitch, that's not necessarily going to be the case. So yeah, make sure you've received that email that specifically says you are confirmed for PEP. That's what you're looking for. And then let me go back to my list of questions.
Yeah, you were about to roll into another one that was really
Oh yeah, the quarterly funding. So I asked about that because I've been getting questions from parents. If I have a larger purchase that is more than the quarterly amount, but still falls within the eligible purchases in the guide and is still within the annual spending caps, how do I get reimbursed for it? Do I have to submit it in pieces? I asked that question, and basically she said she was going to kind of check with her people and get back to us on that. So I don't have an answer, but I just wanted to let people know that we did ask the question and we're working on getting an answer as to exactly how that's going to work. I've also been asked, if you have leftover funds, do they roll over? The answer to that is yes. They roll over up to $24,000 a year, and they can be used for any eligible expenses in the future. However, a lot of people were asking if they can apply that to their 529 college savings account later. The answer to that is no. That is not considered an eligible expense. Only FESUA, that is the only scholarship they said that a college savings plan is considered an eligible use of funds. So for other scholarships, including PEP, it cannot be applied to a college savings account. However, you can use it for any eligible expenses, and those funds will roll over up to $24,000 a year.
Okay, because somebody asked, they apparently saw an article featuring DeSantis where he had said that they would be able to, or maybe that was the plan. I don't know, because they didn't link the article, and I haven't seen that article or heard that. So that was the first I'd seen or heard of it, but I'm assuming that question can be considered answered from the
yes, according to StepUp, yeah.
The law would have to be changed. The reason that the FESUA rolls over is because the child can stay in a K-12 school until the age of 22. Whereas the other programs will be based on a grade level. So a PEP student is going to have to declare a grade at some point. And when your 12th grade year comes up, you're expected to be graduated at that point. So your funds would not roll over.
Yes.
Great.
So I think the funds stay available in your account for eligible expenses until graduation. Is that correct, Brenda?
That's the way I understand it.
Okay. Somebody must have joined late, but they asked, when is my scholarship expected to roll out? That was answered earlier in the video, so I'll just do it really briefly. Daleen Howell responded to it. I just want to confirm that a few days after funding is when it will hit, which is supposed to be around September 1st.
Yeah, I actually asked that in the call today just for clarification, and I was told that the funds should release in September. She's not sure of the exact date. And also that direct purchase platform that everyone is asking about will be available in September. Again, not sure of the exact date.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to confirm, since that's the hot question being asked. Multiple people bumping it. So, all right, keep going.
Okay.
I know you've got to go soon, so
yes, I do. I'm going down the list. Okay, so about pre-authorization for purchases. On the call today, they said that they will be releasing a handbook for PEP really soon. That'll have a lot of the instructions for things like this. But basically, anything that qualifies according to the purchase guide should not need pre-authorization. Pre-authorization is recommended for things that might be a unique situation that you want to make a case for why it should be covered, but it doesn't fall within the listed things for that category. And she said that pre-authorizations can take a long time, sometimes 1 to 2 months, maybe longer. So she doesn't recommend pre-authorization for something that already falls under an approved category in the purchasing guide. So I know I've been getting a lot of questions about that, and especially with home education instructional programs, which I was specifically asking about. They said on the call today that if your home education instructional program meets that list of requirements that is in the purchasing guide, it will be reimbursed. That's what she said on the call.
Okay.
You do need to make sure that it meets those qualifications. She said that there will eventually be a list of pre-approved programs available in Emma, but not every program that exists that meets the qualifications will necessarily be on that pre-approval list, and it doesn't have to be. As long as it meets those qualifications, it should be reimbursed. So that list of qualifications in the purchasing guide is what parents need to be looking at very carefully. And I don't have it right here to pull up. Actually, maybe I do. Give me 1 second. Aha, I have a printed copy of the guide. Hold on. Okay, so for home education instructional programs, I'm trying to find the page for that. Maybe I'll just pull up the digital one. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
But I want to make sure people understand the list of qualifications, because there are some things I've been getting asked about that probably don't qualify, like home education instructional programs, but they're entirely online. That may not qualify. Let me pull up this.
Well, the other thing that we're still waiting on information about are the, quote, umbrella schools. I can answer that one.
Okay.
But private schools that have been receiving EO scholarships also now are questioning whether they can provide classes for students from their list of classes. And what was said today was, as long as they are not counting them for attendance, because the attendance is going to be StepUp's responsibility, or AAA's. And what was the other one she said, Crystal?
They can't be marked as enrolled, like as a full-time student. Attendance, I don't remember if she said anything else.
Yeah, okay. So those two things. In other words, you can't be enrolled full-time in a private school, even if the private school meets the eligible requirements to be a scholarship recipient school. You cannot be fully enrolled in that full-time.
Yeah, and
so they're still working on wording on that and how they're going to approve that.
Would this be why there's a potential issue for live online classes as opposed to pre-recorded curriculums?
Yes.
Okay. So it's hinged on that?
Well, if it's a virtual program, the virtual program has to be approved by the Department of Education in order for it to qualify. So you have to go through that approval process, just like you'd have to go through the approval process to become an eligible private school.
Yes, and to add to the thing with umbrella or like hybrid programs, it seemed like their main consideration they were looking at was that attendance factor. If the school is marking attendance for you, then it would disqualify you for using PEP funds for that, because PEP is supposed to be marking your attendance. It is your path for compulsory attendance requirement. So to have enrollment in a private school, whether it's an umbrella school or a private school that's offering a hybrid program, if they are marking attendance for you, then it's not going to fall within the requirements for what you need to do to be in compliance for PEP, if that makes sense. All right, I have the list of requirements. So this is for home education instructional programs, and there are 6 bullet points. The first is it has to be a program selected by the parent as part of their PEP students' parent-directed instruction. The program may not be full-time or full-time equivalent, and private schools, virtual schools, and public or charter schools are not considered a home education program. So that's point 1. Point 2 is it must provide courses and or activities for PEP students that enhance or enrich the child's learning opportunities. It must have publicly available and reviewable program descriptions of courses or activities. It must have a published tuition and fee schedule. It must be in a non-residential physical location, cannot be in a home. So this is where if it's a virtual program, it's going to fall under something else. It's not going to qualify as a home education instructional program. And then the last point is it must be a business organization. So your tuition and fees can't be payable to an individual. It has to be going to an organization. So those are the criteria as listed in the purchase guide. If, according to StepUp today, if the program you're wanting to use for your home education instructional program meets those qualifications, then it should be reimbursed whether it's on a pre-approved list or not. So hopefully that clarifies some things and relieves some people's worries about not having a pre-approved list or not being on a pre-approved list. Also, it should help relieve some worries of the programs themselves, like if they haven't heard back about pre-approval. If your program, if you're a director of a program and it meets all those qualifications, according to StepUp, it should be reimbursed. So were there any like additional comments or questions on that I should cover?
I don't see any. Let me look. I was going back to they posted the link to the article, but the article doesn't say anything about the funding being used for college. Going back to that, it simply states what Brenda had already said with a nice little pro-public school slant at the end, which is interesting.
Okay.
I've got a lot of other questions, but I don't.
Okay, I'm almost down the list that I had, so I'll finish that if that's okay. People were asking about how reimbursements would be handled. On the call today, she confirmed it will be a debit card. So the way that it will work is there will be an empty debit card mailed to you. There will be no money on it at first. And then once your reimbursement is approved, those funds will be added to that debit card. She also said there should be an email going out to PEP families this week, kind of explaining that part of the process. And this is the same as the new UA reimbursement system. She said that if you were approved last year for UA and you renewed, you're still under the legacy system and your reimbursements are being handled differently. But new families that are coming into UA this year are getting this debit card system too. And eventually they're going to switch. Sometime in the fall, they plan to move everyone over to Emma and be doing everyone with the reimbursement cards. So that is how that will work. I know that was a question that I was seeing a lot of. And then I also got some questions about, if I bought something before August, can I be reimbursed? They confirmed to me on the call today that period is July 1st to June 30th for eligibility for reimbursement. So anything after July 1st should be reimbursable as long as it meets those purchasing guide requirements. And I am waiting to hear back from them for some clarification on the purchasing guide itself, because they did a mashup purchasing guide, which is a little bit confusing. The FTC FESEO purchasing guide includes FTC scholarships, of which PEP is one, and FESEO scholarship, which is for private school students. So they tried to mash it all together into one guide. And then they have, in certain categories like private school tuition, the guide specifically says this does not apply to PEP students. But my question to StepUp was about other categories of expenses, because the statute listed certain approved categories for what the funds could be used for. And initially we were telling people that supplies, just general school supplies, would not be covered because that wasn't in statute. But in the purchasing guide, that's an approved category. So I just had some questions about those categories that are falling outside statute. And she said that she was going to get with the team for clarification on that and then get back to us. So that's another one where if you had questions about that, we're working on getting an answer. We don't have an answer yet. We only know what's in statute. And then we're working to get clarification from StepUp on the rest.
Okay. Other questions, or are we good?
I think that was all I had on my list. So
I've got several. Let me dive into them here. They're saying that I can barely be heard, so I'll do my best. Can you explain the difference between what the PEP funds can be used for, the purchasing guide, what the statute says?
So did that come in as I was explaining that last question, or is that?
That was way earlier. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
So then that what
You
I
answered
just
that one.
explained may have covered that. Yeah.
All right. And then are there any updates for when the reimbursement portal will be set up and the card sent out? You answered that one, so we can mark that one off.
Yeah, I believe everything's going to happen in September. I don't know the date, but September at some point.
Is classical conversations covered?
Ooh.
That's a fun question.
I'm going to speak to this only on what I've heard, and I want to caveat this with I have not spoken to Classical Conversations or StepUp about this, but I have been told that Classical Conversations has made the choice not to accept PEP students. So I'm just going to leave it at that because that's all I know.
All right. We'll move forward then. I'll consider that one a maybe, or time will tell. Next question. Do you see any downsides to taking these funds and terminating a homeschool program? Several people asked or bumped this one. I'd answer this one and say it all depends on you, honestly, and what you're looking for. If you want your pure freedoms and you don't need the money, don't want the money, and you just want to stay a traditional homeschooler in that homeschool path, I see no downsides to staying in the home education path. But if you want to look at increasing some options that enhance or provide opportunities that you didn't have before, and you want to stay as close to the home education option as possible, but you don't mind being a part of the personalized education program and following the guidelines of what it has and as it evolves, or as it evolves and you decide this is not what you want to be anymore and you want to bounce back to the home education path, you can. And that would be what I would say. I don't necessarily personally, me, Jason Crawford, I don't look at the program and see any downsides right now, as of August 14th, 2023 at 12:45 p.m. Does that make sense? But that doesn't mean that there won't be changes that are out of my control, that do come. That's one of the reasons why we want to lobby to keeping it as a program that's as close to home educating as possible, and without any further restrictions that impede upon freedoms. That's the goal. That's absolutely the goal here. Excuse me. Is to wow. I got something caught in my throat. Sorry. That is the goal here. I got a lawnmower outside here, so I'm going to let you take the next question. How do you stop PEP mid-year if you no longer like it? Will you still be required to do the test at the end, and will you be required to pay back any funds?
I'll let Brenda take that one.
You should be able to stop mid-year. If you notify them that you are no longer wanting to participate in PEP, your funds will most likely be frozen. You will not get any more funds. And theoretically, the funds or the items that you've already spent your funds on will have been paid, or you will have been reimbursed. So it's just put the brakes on, ending the program. You re-enroll in a home education program. And the only thing that has not been answered yet that I know of is because the Bright Futures Handbook has not come out yet. I've asked the questions, but they said their handbook is not out, and the person that's over home education would not give me a definitive answer as to whether that 11th and 12th grade year would count if you transfer between programs in those 2 years. It should, I'm going to say it should based on the legislation, but some of these agencies have authority to write further regulations. They do, I believe, in Bright Futures. They're going to try to give it to every student that does, but we just have to wait and see what their handbook says in August, mid-August. So it should be out soon.
Okay. Another question. Who do we complain to about specific rules, like only being able to buy instruments every 4 years? Lots of instruments are by size and kids grow fast. I think the answer to that is step up
Yes.
and stay hand in hand with your program and inform them of your needs as your needs grow and change. Again, this is meant to be, at least from now until December, as fluid of a building process as possible to try to cover questions like these. Step up will be the one to communicate that need or that concern to. So that's a good question.
I know Brenda and I have been encouraging parents to submit that feedback to StepUp because they
Correct.
are the purchasing guide is not finalized, and we have, they'll be finalizing it in December. So we have a chance for this feedback to actually shape what goes in that final guide. And if you go to the PEP page on StepUp and scroll down to the bottom, there is actually a link that says purchasing guide feedback form. And it is a form specifically for that type of feedback. They're wanting that feedback from parents. So please, if there's a cap that you don't think makes sense or something like that, please submit that feedback to them. Not just because we're trying to push it off and say, oh, that's not a question for us, but because they actually need that feedback from parents in order to be able to make these decisions.
The other thing is, I think this is where the parent really needs to ask for a pre-approval. What is that form? Pre-authorization form. We were given an example of where that would be very important to ask for pre-authorization and explain why your child needs that particular item that is not covered in the purchasing guide.
Yes, according to StepUp, that is the purpose of the pre-authorization form, is for those types of situations where you feel like you have a good case for why it should be covered, but it's not technically covered in what's stated in the guide. So.
Yeah, great. How will we prove the qualifications of a private music instructor? Will there be a place to upload a degree verification or a business name?
I don't know the answer to that, of how that process is going to look in the portal. Do you, Brenda?
I don't.
Okay. I will drop that one to you afterwards for follow-up, so we can circle back to it. When are applications closed? Funding for the year? My two. So I think we kind of answered this one. Another one's a similar kind of question was asked, says, can I switch from FTC to PEP mid-year? And I think from earlier in the conversation, the answer to that is yes, if there are scholarships and funds available, but there might not be. So if you have a plan, I would get on that plan and try to activate it. If you wait, they might be all used up at the point where you decide to switch and then stay your current course until next year. Now, I think next year they are planning to increase the number of available scholarships as well. So this is the first run through. Next year there might be more, but I wouldn't lag around in a wait and see kind of way. If you want it, go get it. If you're not sure, wait and see what everybody else does.
Well, they can always apply and not take it this year if they get approved. But
if you get approved, sure. Right. Yeah.
But they should apply because they'll probably first in line for a waiting list for next year. And there are going to be 40,000 additional scholarships awarded for PEP next year.
Yes. So I hope that answers that question. I know that some of these are repeats because I think we have people joining late and they're not here for the early learns. But,
Brenda, I had one clarification question about the, if you decide you want to stop PEP partway through the year. Is there any risk that parents would be asked to pay back any of the stuff they've spent? Because that's the fear I'm seeing from parents a lot in Facebook groups and such. I know that we've said they shouldn't, but is there a risk that they might be asked to?
As long as they're using the items that are on the list and they're enrolled in a PEP program, I don't know anything in statute that says they have to pay it back.
Okay, so if they stop mid-year and their funds freeze, there should be no reason that they would be asked to pay back what they had already used from their account.
No, that's assuming that the parent is educating their child at home using the items that they've purchased.
So assuming that they're using the fund, that they've purchased the funds according to the correct guidelines and they're using them according to guidelines and it's not a misuse of funds.
Correct.
Okay.
Only if there's a fraudulent use of funds will they go after a parent. And I don't know how that would occur because StepUp has to approve every purchase. So I don't know exactly how a parent would misuse it, but the only item I could think of is where they use it to purchase a computer and then within 2 months or 3 months, they withdraw from the program. That could be a problem, but at this point, there are no guidelines on how that would work.
And computers aren't an approved purchase right now for PEP.
Correct.
Anyway, yeah.
Correct.
So.
And that may be why they're not in the statute.
That's a big one that parents are asking to please get added.
Yeah, we want that one added too, trust me.
Because a lot of parents, if they're switching to PEP and they haven't been home educating or, if they just don't have a computer for their student to use at home, that is something that PEP funds would be extremely helpful for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you know someone who can fix computers, one of ours just broke. So DM me since we don't have PEP funds available for that.
StepUp can't make that decision, though. That's something that you need to call your legislator and tell them that it would be very helpful to parents in the PEP to be able to purchase computers.
Yes.
And the next session is happening when? For changes to be made?
Well, committee meetings start in September.
Okay.
And the session actually starts January and February, but the bills they will be working on the bills for session in September, October, November, December. There are committee meetings all those months.
So now is the time to reach out to your legislator.
Right.
Any update on dual enrollment being available for those unenrolled in district and enrolled in PEP plan? It is available, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, nothing with that will change.
Yeah, that is a part of the statutes. I knew them. I knew them last week because I had to give it an answer to someone. I'm not
1009.25 and 0.30.
There you go. There you go. I do know that it is in a reference in the new enacted bill, which you can find on our website in the resources downloadable guide. You can get the new language for the bill for the legislation that's about to drop that was in the previous bill, and it is in lines 199 and 200 of that, which references all of the things that home education students have access to, and that is actually one of them. So
on that topic, because StepUp added to their FAQs. StepUp added to their FAQs a specific statement that dual enrollment would not be impacted. You would still have access to it. But apparently parents have been hearing from other places, maybe the colleges themselves or other sources, that it might not be.
Happens.
So on this issue, because I'm also hearing parents who contacted, one parent had a child enrolled in public school. They contacted the district to say that they're withdrawing them to go and they're unenrolling them to go to PEP. And they were given this whole list of it was resistance and a whole list of things that they had to do and prove and all this stuff. So on that note, Brenda, maybe you can just speak for a second as to the need to kind of know the statutes and to be able to reference those when you're speaking to schools.
The school districts know public school law. They know kind of home education law. They do not know PEP. And so if they're giving you counsel on that, you need to find a different counselor.
Yeah,
we are trying to get accurate information out through the Home Education Foundation. We are working with scholarship funding organizations, StepUp being the most, they have the most scholarships and they're the most automated, or they communicate with electronically AAA is more hands-on, and so you're going to get more accurate information quicker from StepUp. But it's also hard to get through to StepUp because they're having so many questions. So
Such call volume. Yes.
I think the Home Education Foundation is the best resource you've got at the present time that we can get answers to you quickly.
Certainly. And there was someone who, to yours and Crystal's point, someone who said that the college that they were talking to about the dual enrollment issue told them that they never heard of PEP and that wasn't available there. And I basically responded and said, well, just put them in contact with us.
Exactly.
Let
That's
them call
what they
us.
should do.
And that's what we do as Home Education Foundation, as your Florida lobbyists. We work to help spread the education as much as we can. Even if we get enough of that and we go, hey, you know what, let's put together a resource on the website that helps colleges understand that. We can even do things like that, or in the live forums. So there's a lot that we're flexible and capable of doing with the right kind of questions. Now, when it comes to some of the questions about funding and things like that, that's not really our lane unless it hits your rights and what you have the rights to. Those are really StepUp questions. We're getting a lot of them, but it's one of those things that will help where we can because we know. But that does hit core to our primary focus, which is if you have colleges that don't yet understand it, it's brand new and it's being rolled out, and you need someone to liaison with you, like, absolutely, get them in contact with us. We will have that conversation with them.
If there's enough of these colleges that don't understand it, we can go to the Association of College Presidents and educate them, maybe with some sort of document that they can distribute to the colleges, so that we can do it all at one time and not have to do individual colleges. But we're open.
We can.
We're open to reaching out to individual colleges if necessary.
So someone asked if we could repeat the statute, and I pulled it up here. I think it's 1007.271 that talks about dual enrollment programs.
It's 9.
Is it 9? I'm looking at.
Wait. No. You're right. It's that dual enrollment and Bright Futures is 09.
Got you. And then that section also references 1002, which talks about for home education students and what they're given. And then that is referenced by the new bill language, which is in the enacted language of the bill, but it's not live on the statutes yet. So I'll go ahead and I'll put that as a comment here, where the dual enrollment section is found, and you can follow it links to the 1002, and the other language is not yet available, but you can download that from our website since we've made it available for you. And then that should help you have conversations to clear.
I need to hop off the call in a second, but I had one additional question that I know parents have been asking about.
Yes.
In terms of when you submit your letter of termination to the county, parents are being told by some evaluators or some school districts that they need to submit a new annual evaluation if they haven't had one done within the last 3 months. Brenda, do you know if that's accurate, or if they've already submitted one, are they good to go?
That is not real clear. I know that the home education statute says they need to submit a letter of termination an evaluation when they submit a letter of termination. But I think we can go to DOE and get an exception for this year, because if they've done an evaluation at the end of their home education year and they're withdrawing to go into another program, I think that should suffice. But that may be something that we're going to get clarification from DOE on. And I would just tell the district that when they say that, to ask them to call the DOE.
Okay.
Yes.
Jason, if I get off this call, is it going to mess up the?
It will. Give me two. Do you have to leave right this second?
I can take a second. Yeah.
All right, cool.
I don't want to mess up the rest of the live stream. So.
You're good. When will testing? Any clarification on how testing will be carried out? As of now, I don't think that there has been any clarification on that. They're still working on rolling out the program. I know a lot of people are concerned about the testing, but people are wanting to know. I think the second question here was, does it have to be done at a facility? Undetermined, or as is stated, is how it'll roll out until said otherwise. But as far as I know, it's not really been there when they're dealing with call volume issues and rolling it out. It's not yet on the chopping block, but enough parents asking questions about it, it will be put on the chopping block. So ask StepUp. Make it important. We'll get the answers. Did you have any clarification I don't have, Brenda or Crystal, on that one?
No.
Okay. Hello, can my private school receive PEP if we have a homeschool education program that is participation only and doesn't take attendance?
Say the question one more time.
Yeah. Can my private school receive PEP if we have a homeschool education program that is a participation only and doesn't take attendance? I'm not sure how that works.
If they are an eligible private school.
Is that the final answer? Okay.
That's my final answer.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Moving on.
I do need to go, so I'm just going to turn off my mic and camera, and then that way it won't mess up your thing. Will that work?
Yeah, no, you can go ahead and go. I'll fix the visuals, whatever I need to fix. Okay. Thank you for being with us and answering all those and doing all of the phone calls in the background, the ones I don't want to be on or can't be on.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes. You're invaluable.
Okay, Jason, let's go back to the dual enrollment question. Okay, I looked it up in House Bill 1 and on line 297, it says that they have to pay for tuition and fees, and then there's a list of things: post-secondary education institutions or a program offered by the post-secondary educational institution, unless the program is subject to statute 1009.25 or reimbursed pursuant to 1009.30. And that is the dual enrollment. 0.30 is the dual enrollment scholarship program. So they do not have to pay for dual enrollment or dual enrollment books.
Cool.
Specifically spelled out in the statute, House Bill 1.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And I'm glad you revisited that. I have the other question. I keep getting confused by my own note-taking here, so I'll avoid that. If I have a certified teacher that is providing instruction under an LLC nonprofit that she has created and using a building that is completely separated from her home dwelling on her residential property, could her instructional services be used for home education program? I think she also has a blue dog, if any of those details help. I'm being silly. Did that make sense, the question? There's a lot to it.
If they meet those requirements in the purchasing guide, and it sounds like she does, she would qualify as a tutor.
Mm-hmm.
Or possibly home education instructional program, because she is a business as an LLC. But they're going to have to answer that question, because
that's a step-up question.
I would go at them with the here. They just need to go to those specific things that Crystal referenced in the purchasing guide.
Yeah. Did I hear correctly that I should apply now and not take it? Or is that only for new families? We've had FESEO for a few years. I don't know why you would apply and not take it if that's your plan is to take it. I feel like there's probably more to this scenario. Basically stated, if you want it, apply for it. If you're not sure what you want to do yet, apply and see if you get it. And then you have the option to turn it down if not. But if you're intending to take it, apply for it.
Well, if they've got their child in a private school, which is the EO portion of this,
correct,
you need to decide if you want to keep that child in the private school. If you do, don't apply for this scholarship.
Mm-hmm. And Maurice asks again, our private school is eligible to receive StepUp funds, but how do I know if I'm PEP eligible? Ask StepUp. So I think that covers the majority of the questions that we have here.
Well, I'm going to have to go too because I'm supposed to
Yeah.
be on a call with StepUp right now. So
Great. Well, let's
going to
get
have
you
to-
going. Let's get you going, get Crystal going, get me going. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you all for your time, your questions, if you have. Can you still decline the scholarship even after? Yes, you can. If you have further questions, please submit them through the contact forms or through the forum. The forum is a place where you all who have heard some of these answers can go and interact with each other. That's flhef.org. And then go to our forum. It's free to create an account. You do not have to pay anything. This is a free service that we tried to put together for you all. People who have answers to go there and help each other get them. Moving away from communities and groups that have misinformation. Get it here and take it back to those groups and share it. And then if you get a chance also, visit the support part of our website and sign up for some form of support, whether it's $5 a month or $10 a month. There's two of me now. We say goodbye to Brenda. It's $5 a month, $10 a month. We have some people who have donated up to $100 a month. And all of this is really going a long way to helping us get a lot of this stuff together. Again, you don't have to pay to become a member. You can become a member, join the forum, communicate, benefit. There's a lot that we're doing for you, period. Just period. But it is always easier to do the work when it's funded. So thank you all for your time and attention. I hope you'll have a wonderful and blessed Monday, and I hope that you take this information back and bless the communities that you're a part of with good answers. Outside of that, y'all have a great one.